Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the stream that never streams. It's kind of here, possibly, but more importantly, welcome back to another game review. I've actually had a few video messages over the last couple of days, weeks, which has possibly made me get off my ass and do something. Probably setting a worrying precedent there, but it was half term. I was planning on doing this anyway. About going over some more review games, having some more sort of like talking over a game and saying what was good, what was bad, what I liked, etc. I haven't been doing that recently because I've been playing in a fair few events myself, so in my practice time I don't really want to give away all my secrets, if you will. But there was a phenomenal game which I had the fortune to commentate on over at the Sis Taker Open recently. Sis Taker Open was a 120 person event in the UK, the biggest event since lockdown. It was great to see everyone again. Loads of people there. A few people travelled over from Europe as well. And Matija is one of those. Technically, Azaghal is also one of those, although he is now living in the UK. But yeah, so we had some of the French over. We had some Swiss over. There was a load of people. It was great to see, and I'm hoping for a few more events along those lines. But what we are going to do today is we're going to have a chat over this game because this game is fantastic, and I saw a few people on go, "Oh, it's boring," and I wanted to go through it and have a look at why I enjoyed this game so much, but also some of the different choices that both players made in the game, and whether or not those were good things. So let's go do that. So if we go over to this one, and then we go there. Yay! Yes, I've been ignoring the chat. Yes, Rangers. How could I betray you? Well, the missus brought over a very nice X-wing jersey. So there we go. And yeah, it's good to see Azaghal, and I have not started. So yeah, like I play ice hockey. Well, I play inline hockey because where I live in the UK sucks. And if I lived closer than like 2 hours next to the ice rink. So to set the scene, this is the top 8. This is the top 8 of the Sith Takers. Matija knocked me out in the top 32 of this tournament, so I am relatively well familiar with his list, and I also played Azaghal in the third round. So, having played both of these guys out of the tournament, they were both in good fortune, and Mojito, well, we'll find out. Mojito versus Azaghal. I mean, this is a good one. But yeah, so shall we get on going, or are we gonna just shout at me for being in the wrong hockey jersey? I like blue. What's wrong with blue? And New York's a lovely city. Haven't actually been myself. He was 33rd before Dale dropped. Yes, blame Dale. Dale is the problem. But yeah, Azaghal is a very smart college boy. He is presently at a rather important university in the UK, just outside of London. Good job to him. And it's really nice to see him in person because I talked to him a load online. I'm doing well today. Thank you very much. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is we're going to skip over certain bits here, and I'm just going to resize this window so that we can get it to approximately the right size for this. There we go. We'll see if that'll do nicely. Awesome. Yeah, because I don't really want the chat, and we want to go through this, so hopefully everyone can see. Few things that I want to mention first of all is, one, rocks are important. Now, breaking down the lists here on the right hand side, you can see that we have Bobber and Nim, and because we've got Bobber and Nim, we have quite a bit of asteroid problems. What we can see is that Azaghal has clearly got some form of idea of asteroids and what we're doing here. I'm gonna take this back step by step because the players are going at a lightning pace, and we need to actually pay attention to why this is happening. So just before we do that, let's just do a quick bit of a zoom in. I know we're already ignoring chat. What? I'm paying attention. Shush. And yes, thank you, Nicholas. Good to see. But yeah, so these two lists and how they operate. First of all, we have Boba Fett. Now, Boba Fett, you can see it if you zoom in. I we'll zoom in on the list in a bit. Let's see if we can get a bit of a zoomed in view of one of these. Are we able to do that? No. Okay. I'll put them up in Yasby later. It's fine. Everything's fine. How are you? But with Azaghal's list here, he has a massive amount of control. Captain Nim, if you haven't played against him before, he is able to keep a bomb where it is, basically until infinity, as long as it's only one. Every turn he can say that bomb does not explode. He can do it with prox mines, which is hilarious if you fly over your own prox mine and then someone blocks things. Liam, you don't get any shout-outs. You didn't play for the XTC team. So he's really, really good at controlling things. And on Nim, he has seismic charges and he has proton bombs. So he has decent control of bombs here. Also, he's loaded out Nim to the gills. This is a 2-ship list, so Iron Cannon Turret is incredibly useful. Dengar, if anyone doesn't know, Dengar Gunner is able to do a damage back if your opponent doesn't have a green token after they have shot you. Only if you're in the firing arc, though. Hull Upgrade is just useful because you have a 1 agility ship and it doesn't have much health. And then Havoc allows access to one of the most important things in the list, which is the Tragedy Simulator, or alternatively known as the Trajectory Simulator. Plus R4B11, which is useful for rerolls. You can spend your opponent's stress token to get offensive rerolls, which is fun. Now, the key to all of this, all of those upgrades on Nim, is essentially what he gets to do is he gets to place an asteroid in the center of the board. And what we're going to do is we're just going to have a look at the rock deployment here. So the thing that you want to pay attention to, first of all, Azaghal has set this one up range. What is that? It looked like, I'm going to go back slightly so that we can see exactly what range he placed that. So that is range 5. So first asteroid, range 5 from the board edge. Second asteroid, you can see Matija goes, okay, I don't want anything to do with this. No, sorry, I'm lying. Range 4.5. There we go. Second one, Matija places right in the corner. Doesn't want to deal with this. So this topic, what's the topic? Interesting. That looks. We're looking at X-Men games because of reasons. Anyway, so second one you can see there is completely out of the way. Third one, Azaghal is now creating his triangle. Now this is very important, and we'll talk more about that when it's created. Again, Matija gets this rock out of the way. I'm not quite so sure on this one. I think maybe this one should have been over here in his corner. If you go in diagonals, hey Rich, because going here and here allows a bit more of a. If Azaghal decided not to complete the triangle, he could have maybe made a bit more of a mess over on this side. Depends, but I think not allowing him that option is nice. And then finally, here's the triangle. So once Matija gets his last rock down, we'll talk about that. And again, yep, right in the corner, gets the rocks out of the way. And then we'll have a look at this triangle and how it operates with Nim as a list. Okay, so what we've got here is we have this triangle of asteroids in the center. Now, as you can see, Matija has placed his as far away as possible, and Azaghal is going to use this as a massive control measure. What Captain Nim does is he goes, on the first turn, we're going to see it, he will dump a seismic charge in the center of all 3 of those rocks. After a 1 forwards, he lobs it 5 forwards, and then we have a triangle. The Bermuda Triangle of Doom, if you will, because the amount of board space that creates, because Nim can let that seismic go off at any time, right? And he has a range 1 bubble from each asteroid. So there's a larger than range 3. It's probably around range 3.5 to range 4 bubble in the center of the board that just controls a massive, massive, massive space. So if any ship goes near it, they're running the risk of Nim just going, yep, cool, that one explodes. Now, this is where it gets interesting, though. And we get a bit of a risk-reward situation going on, because if only one ship goes in range of that seismic, it loses its power. That seismic is, and I think this is where beginners playing against, I say beginners, people who haven't played too much against Nim, become so scared of it that they never go near the center of the board. It is absolutely acceptable to take that damage for good board position. And it's really interesting to see how different players react to having that seismic in the center of the board. But it is absolutely a deterrent as opposed to a damage device. It is much, much, much more useful to control position and to control channels through the asteroids as it is to control damage itself. I see. I considered taking this thing off before this, but I've been really enjoying watching the Olympic ice hockey. I was hoping that the Finnish women would get into the finals. It was a really good game against USA, but hey, I've finally got back to hockey after COVID. It's been great. Anyway, so in terms of this, that's why that triangle is there. So we talked about Nim. Okay. Chat wins. I like the House of Pain, but Bermuda Triangle. Bermuda Triangle. We like this. Good job. Good job, chat. Right, so we've talked about Nim. Let's go to Bobber. Bobber is the boring part of the list. By boring, I mean he punches you in the face repeatedly. Everyone knows what he does. In this one, he doesn't have Slave 1. He has the Andrasta title, which is really, really interesting because it allows him to reload that proton bomb. So he has 2 bombs as well. Obviously, this is a controlled bombing list. He has a prox mine. He has 2 prox, 2 proton. He's got Fearless, got the hull upgrade. Ablative plating is a really underused upgrade and is incredibly well used in this. In terms of this list, I think people always underestimate just how willing Bobber is to throw himself into danger, because used correctly, I haven't seen Azaghal do it yet, but I know that he can. You can 4-forward Bobber straight onto an asteroid in the center of that Bermuda Triangle. You can ablative the damage from the rock. You can explode the seismic, and still ablative the damage from the seismic, and then Bobber is at range 1 and can still shoot. You're not trapped in here with me, I'm trapped in here with you, etc. So there's a lot of shenanigans that you can play with ablative plating in this list. I really like it. Yeah, it's fun. We'll see it come in. No, we saw it in the previous game against the Kirax. So I'd also recommend. By the way, Firecast Focus. I told Nick I was going to shout him out. Seriously, go check out their channel. The Firecast Focus is amazing, and I'm just going to zoom in big on their thingy. There it is. Look at it, it's so pretty. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really pretty, and Firecast Focus has been doing an amazing job over the last few months of going around and basically just recording all of the really good X-Wing in the UK. They are hopefully coming to many, many tournaments near you. So yeah, should be good. Check them out. They're really, really cool. I'm watching this on their Twitch channel presently, so we're doing Twitchception, and yeah, you should definitely check them out. So, where were we? Bobber. Yes, Bobber punches you in the face. He has all the important things. Andrasta allows him to reload, which is incredibly useful because Azaghal doesn't tend to play this game too aggressively. Oftentimes, Bobber will just run away and drop bombs on your face repeatedly and do really well. So we've talked a lot about Azaghal's list. Let's flip over to Commander in Chaff, which is the preferred name for the Resist tank. The small group of crazy resistance players because they're stuck in there with Tom. Yes, so Firecast should be over in Western Supermare, which is one of my favourite names in all of UK geography. Sounds like it, spelt like it sounds. But yeah, on the seaside, over in the West Country, they are driving over for the 26th. Anyway, yeah, this resistance list, you've got Poe Dameron, who is the Commander Poe version, so he isn't the ultimate ace, but he's very good at powering up his friends, or every other turn powering up himself. He's got Heroic, because Heroic is awesome. Jess, well, you don't need to do anything with Jess, she's just amazing, she gets rerolls, super friend. Red Squadron Expert with R6D8. Now, R6D8, if you don't know, it is basically a beefed up Predator. For every ship that has a bullseye in your list, you get a reroll. Yeah, just so if 2 people have a bullseye, then you get a reroll. If 1 person has a bullseye, you get 1 reroll. But it's surprising how many bullseyes you get across the list. Obviously, it works for yourself. but if someone else can give you the Predator bullseye, and with a 4-ship jousty list, you're probably going to get a bullseye somewhere. And finally, the reason it's called Commander in Chaff is we have a Y-Wing. Now, this New Republic Y-Wing, Initiative 3, it's got the wartime loadout, so it has 9 health, and it allows it access to torpedoes and stuff. We are talking about exactly why bombs are important and positioning is great. I'm just running through the lists because, as always, I take way too long to talk about things. But yeah, so we got the wartime loadout there, which has the extra hull. But the important 2 things it's got is it's got an iron cannon turret and it's got the chaff. The chaff can be lobbed out forwards, or it can lobbed out 3 bank. So it's either 4 forwards or 3 bank. Anything that goes over that thing takes a jam token, immediately breaks all locks before it takes the jam token. And then, same as a obstacle, it cannot take any actions. So it's it's really nasty. It's really, really, really bad for jousting lists, and I think it's a really nice addition to this list. What Matija has done is he's reduced the jousting efficiency of the T70s very slightly by taking away a T70, but he's added in the ability to control other jousting lists. Like, for example, if he comes up against a swarm that he would normally lose that joust, he can lob the chaff in their face, and maybe he now either he threatens them with board position, and therefore the swarm decides not to joust him. Alternatively, what he gets to do is he gets to take all of the focus tokens or calculate tokens off them and make them really sad. Plus, iron cannons are great, and this little Y-Wing is genuinely the reason that he won his game against me, because Wedge got ironed 3 turns in a row, and if that hadn't happened, then we would have smacked him in the face. Sad. Fucking Dale. Anyway, as Nessa says, I was really impressed by this. So let's have a look at this then. We've talked about lists. We talked about the rock deployment and why it's so important. There is the reason that Matija was trying to corner the asteroids and get them out of the way, and there is a reason that Azaghal is now trying to control the center of the board. So what we'll do is we'll have a bit of a look at the deployments, and we'll see where we go. So Matija is deploying up in the top left in a nice little block. Nim is going right in the center. And what we're going to do is... Nim, there we go, he's got the right idea. He's going right at the front of the range 1, and what we'll see over the first turn is he will trundle forwards, lay that seismic right in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle, and I love that name. I'm going to keep on saying that name now. Yeah, and we're going to go from there. And then Bobber is the ever-constant wingman, and we can see that there are some shenanigans afoot already. And this is why I'm a little bit sad for... the self-bumping rules, because I think it allows some really cool opening play. Yeah, it's really interesting. So when we get started, we can see that Azaghal has quite a lot of openings out of this. Obviously, Bobber can turn this way. He can K-turn if he wants to. He can bank over here, or he can just 1 forward and stall. And also, because they're both Initiative 5, he can change the order of movements. If Nim wants to, Nim can go 1 forward first and then barrel roll to get out of the way of Bobber, and then Bobber can actually move. He has many different ways out of this opening, which is like it. You know that something's a good opening if you can get at least 3 different exits. So for this, he can stall, he can turn left, turn right, or zoom forwards. Yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, so what we're going to see over the next couple of turns, I'm going to skip through a few of them just because there's no sense of wasting planning phases. Also, Michael Upton, you beautiful man. Look at those pretty cards. They're really pretty. He did some fearless ones as well. I need some heroics. Those are some reds. Now, what we're going to see for the first turn or so is Matija is just going to go 1 forwards, and these guys are still playing fast. Like these, Matija just said, right, I'm just going to do Poe now. Go ahead and do all your stuff. So we're not wasting any time. And there goes Nim. Nim says, cool. We're just going to sit here and get ready to do the seismic for next turn. So we got the focus. Bobber again uses that stall. And going from there. And if I haven't already mentioned, I didn't get any of the reds. I got the Mandalorian ones. But yeah, so Matija from Croatia, which is a really nice country. XTC 2018 was in Croatia. It was really nice. I got to see all Zagreb has to offer, and then got driven all the way down to Dubrovnik, which was nice. I mean, so if this tournament had a 12-round limit, this would have been a final salvo. But yeah, so what are we going here? Okay, so yeah, so Matija is just sort of he's trundling. The thing is for Matija is Matija doesn't really have to engage here. He's got the threat, and also he knows that if he rushes, he might just run into a load of bombs. He's probably aware of what happened to his Azaghal's previous opponent, which was brutality. You guys should totally watch the previous video of this on the Firecast Focus channel, because I've never seen such disgusting things done by proton bombs to 5 Kiracs. I think there was a total of about 12 damage done over 3 turns by bombs. Ugh, it was really bad. So here we go. We're just trundling forwards. We've got some 1-forwards from the Resistance Beef, and Nim says, all right, that's fine. We are now getting the flank on from Bobber. So Bobber decides he's going to move first. Nim hasn't actually moved yet. We've just marked him off. And there we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Right. Obviously, Azaghal has an option to boost here. Just considering his life choices. In terms of this, I quite like the option for Bobber to go fast here. Not yet, though. I think he should stay here right now, and I think this is a mistake, and I just want to address why. The Resistance still have the option to come in this channel. It's very, very easy for them to just go, okay, that's fine, and we're going to chase Bobber. If Bobber boosts here, and I'm aware that the hard 2 is coming and everything else, like I think that realistically Nim should have moved first and then barrel roll to allow Bobber's moves to fit. If he's barreling it anywhere there, it wouldn't have made any difference. Yeah, he should have just done the barrel roll first. But yeah, I think that the boost from Bobber, a mistake is the wrong word. I think in this kind of move, you can see that Matia's already got his dials down there. In this kind of game, that is going to be, like you can see from the style that they're both playing, you're going to have to get your opponent to make a misstep. And you can do that by providing him as many different options as possible. You don't, by putting your ships in positions that have so many out positions, if that makes sense. If you can turn 3 different ways, your opponent doesn't know which way you're going to go, so you either have to play it safe, or they're going to have to guess one of them. If Azaghal had kept his ship back there, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, so the reason I was thinking is that if Bobber had stayed back there a little bit, there would have been a bit more choice, and Matija might have had to guess a bit more. In this way, because Nim is going over here, it's clear that we know where these guys are going. I like the idea of splitting Bobber behind the Beef, because Bobber, realistically, to win this game, you need to do 2 things. You need to get Bobber behind, and you need to do some bomb damage. So threatening the flank with Bobber is, yeah, it's quite nice. Yeah, anyway. So that was my thinking anyway. Again, mistake, not really. Just I like the idea of allowing my opponent to make mistakes in the positioning, and it seems clear here that Matija is intent on 1-forwarding down the side of the board. He likes doing it. He is essentially doing the same thing. He's waiting for Azaghal to make a mistake, because the longer he just does 1-forwards, your opponent might get impatient and make a mess up of their engagement. And if the T-70s are surprisingly fast if they decide to zoom, so what ends up happening quite often is that with those little 1-forwards, one of your opponent's ships gets a bit too close, and you can jump on them. So you get a good engagement because you're engaging half your opponent's list. So what we've got here is we have a situation where, okay, Azaghal clearly wants the resistance list to go through this bomb. It seems likely now that they're going to be taking the long way around. They're going to go over here. So realistically, we've got some interesting options here. Nim can come around the corner, but if he does, there's a massive risk of the T-70s just turning in. Whilst it seems sensible that these resistance ships are going to go forwards, you don't know they're going to go forwards. So I would be tempted to K-turn or Talon roll Nim here, or just maybe a 1 bank and wait for the K-turn Talon roll, depending on which way they go. Bobber, whilst again you want to get Bobber behind, you don't know whether the T-70s are turning in or if they're going another 1 forwards. So again, I would probably K-turn Bobber here. Talon roll. So I'd probably Talon roll Bobber So Talon roll Bobber this way, and then one bank Nim that way, and just give options for next turn, right? Because you don't want to do that. Okay, so what we've seen here is that Matija has changed up his mind very slightly. Small change, but important, because he's going 3 forwards. He's not just doing the 1 forwards anymore. He knows that if he stays around for too long here, he gives Bobber a chance to flank him. So the fastest speed the Y-wing can go is 3, realistically, without wasting any stress tokens and everything else. So he decides, okay, let's put the boosters on. He's going to go 3 forwards. He's going to try and get around the outside to try and basically get the decent flank on. He doesn't want to get flanked by Bobber, but he wants to catch Nim. So that's why he's going over there. Nim does decide that Talon roll, and the Talon roll is the best option. So we get the double Talons over here. And now again, we're going to have to make a choice. And it seems here that Matija has he's won the advantage essentially. Very, very small positional advantage, because Nim is not very fast. So Nim's options over here. This is why I preferred the 1 bank instead of the 3 Talon. Obviously, I have perfect information. I know what's going on in this game because I commentated on it. But if Nim does the 1 bank here, then he can't really barrel roll this way because there's a rock in the way. If he does the 1 bank this way and barrels that way, then there's a rock over there as well. Realistically, what he wants to do is he wants to get behind them with Nim. He doesn't really want to joust head on with a 1 agility ship. Yeah, I think the 1 forward might have worked quite well, because you can 1 forward barrel roll into the center over here and then come around the rocks next turn with your turret pointed outside. I quite like that as an option. And we can see now that Matija is attempting to cut Nim off. He doesn't want to go near the middle, but he's going the long way around and trying to cut Nim off. And I think this is the first small positional mistake that we see in the game. In that by doing nothing, Matija has essentially won an advantage, because he's managed to stall in the right way. And we can see here that Azaghal decides, you know what? No, I do not want anything to do with that beefy thing. We're just going to go over here now. And that's fine. Hey, Chris, good to see you. You didn't build any of these lists, sorry. And Bobber now is going for the flank. We've said, okay, we know where those are going, and I quite like the boost here. I don't know if Azaghal is going to boost. But I quite like the idea of the boost. I know, like, if you boost over here and then you get a 4 forwards dialed in, you can get a really good flank on the back of these things. So there we go. He did make the mana for the scoreboard. Don't give him nice things. He doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve it. Oh dear. Anyway, so yeah, so we've got a bit of a positional trap going on. Even though the ships are on the other side of the board, yeah. So Matija 2 banking around the corner, around the asteroid. Bobber decides, well, we're still going to play it slow. We want these guys to come through the center. We want them to come through this bunch of asteroids. We don't want to get too excited and allow them to come around the corner and then jump on Bobber. So Azaghal says, nope, this is my board position. You are going to have to come through. And I don't want to get Nim trapped. So I really like this play. Because this is, it may be correcting a mistake, but I think this is a real heads-up play. In the fact that, okay, I have a lot of health on Nim. I have 11 health. I can accept 1 from the asteroid if it means I don't get Nim nuked by the entire list of my opponent. So Azaghal says, cool, this is fine. I'm just going to turn the corner. And there we go. And we need to block this wonderful person. Add to block list. Go away. There we go. This is the reason why I don't have the links thing turned on. Yeah, right. So I really like that play. I think that it hurts to do it, and it looks like, oh, you just put your name on a rock. But the flip side of that is if he'd have continued to go with the small positional mistake, it could have really hurt him. So yeah, he got away with it anyway. He didn't take a damage, but it would have been worth the damage to make sure that he didn't have to fly all the way up here and get jumped on by the entire resistance list. So now we get an interesting scenario where, again, Matija now needs to decide, okay, like the onus is now on Matija because he has to guess again. There's a lot of different options from here, like Nim could talon roll this way. Bobber could just turn away. So Matija decides again, we're going to delay the decision, and we're going to hope that Azaghal is going to make a mistake. Like, I have time. I don't have to commit to my opponent. If I get out of position, I can just lose this game immediately. So let's just wait. Let's do some one banks. Bobber hasn't got a flank on me at the moment, and I have a very nice and easy opportunity to turn the corner here and do some two hards. What you might notice is there is a slight wiggle on the Y-wing, and this is why you have to be super careful, especially over these longer engagements. You got to make sure that you don't start to get your ships out of position a bit too much. There we go. Now Bobber goes zoom. He's committed a bit more to the flank here, and I really quite like a curved boost here, because a curved boost will allow the 4 forwards and then the boost in next turn, really trying to get behind the resistance and basically mess them up. There we go. There comes the curved boost. And again, Azaghal is putting pressure. So whilst he got quite out of position, he's now gone, okay, no. This is my party. You are going to have to do some stuff. And he's just getting Nim out of there. It's just like, you know what? Nim he's done his job. He set up his rock deployment. He doesn't have to get excited at this point. We're trying to just stay away from that really, really annoying jousting block. So now Matija actually has to think of Poe. Lots of Pod G, yeah, like it's perfect timing, right? Pod G represent. I think Pod G is still all alive in the Trilogy tournament. I know the Fiesta Falcons are alive. Lone Wolf's alive. We're alive. Don't know about the Nerd Herders. I think Nerd Herders are doing okay. Or did they just get beaten up by Liam? Not sure. Anyway, Liam can tell me that. Okay, so Poe just tucks in. Everyone is shocked and surprised. Also doing a hard 2. Alright, so I'm just going to... This is now a super, super interesting position. We've got some choices to make. Matija is no longer allowed to stall for time. He has to make a decision. The decision that he has to make is, okay, is Bobber going to just say no? He's not going to commit, and he's just going to go up this way? Or is Bobber going to come in here and threaten the side? Because Matija can say, okay, I'm just going to go as fast as possible, and then I'm going to K-turn next turn. So you do a 4 forward, you dial in a 4K, and you try and delay the engagement to over here, and try and sucker Bobber into here. Or do you turn your entire squad towards the Bermuda Triangle and take this risk? Who knows? Like, are we going to do that? I don't know. Like, is that a thing? Are we going to risk that? So we'll see. We'll see. Now, over the course of the next couple of turns, we could have a lot of things exploding. I like how Nim is fairly safe here. And this is where we might see Azaghal destroying this asteroid. Like, this is now a genuine position of, okay, do we leave this mess in the middle? Is it more useful to have it there, or is it more useful? There we go. So you can get a set of hard 3s in there from Steel City. So you can fit the hard 3 in. The Y-wing, I know it's red, but it doesn't mind too much. Being stressed and then just do a 1 bank next turn. All it needs to do is it needs to be in position to fire the chaff and fire that iron turret. And also you could do a 3 bank from the Y-wing if you really wanted to. Just get it out of the way of the turns. But yeah, I agree with you that the hard 2 hits that rock. Okay, so let's see what decisions are made. And hard 2 it is. So Jess is committing. Looks like only one ship is going to be in range of that. There we go. There is a 2 hard as well. And we see the issue. Bonk. So if Matija hadn't nudged that Y-wing and that Y-wing had been straight on, the Y-wing would not have crashed there. So it's really, really important. Make sure that you're very careful with those maneuvers over the first couple of turns. And if we count this, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the 7th turn, and we're only just past the 15-minute mark. So these guys have been playing really, really fast. At this point, like, most of my games are in the end game, and we've only got like 2 or 3 turns left. So Everyone here does a nice little turn. Happy with that, yes. And Matija, you can see Matija is thinking here, okay, I've caused a problem. We have an issue. Like, clearly there is a rock in the way and we've been caught out. We're trying to correct it. We're trying to make sure that we bring all of our forces to bear onto Bobber. This is just, by the way, the front one is the red because it is in red. It is a beautiful, beautiful ship, that one. Mattia's got a really nice paint job on his 2 Initiative 3 X-Wings. But there we go. So we've now got the resistance list. He's just considering whether or not to take the stress focus as well. He's done the barrel roll, and he decides to not take the stress. Just going to rely on Jess's... Oh, no, there it is. I'm wrong. Hey, Pond, good to see you. Right then. And Bobber decides, nope, we're not going anywhere near this. We're not going anywhere near that. So Bobber has a shot here if he wants it. I think that's range 3 on red. Can take a focus and just take some plinks. Now, red is not going to have any rerolls because that bullseye droid is not around. So it's probably a good position for Bobber to trade here. Also, think about what Bobber's got. He's got proton bombs. He's got quite a lot of proton bombs because he can keep on reloading them. So what we now have here is a situation where he's turned in thinking that Bobber's going to go for the flank. And I see this is something that I don't consider because I'm not used to flying fire sprays. I would have had that full forward dialed in all day with Bobber. Whereas here, Azaghal said, no, I don't win this game with my firing arcs. I win this game with the bombs. And he's just set himself up to lob 2 really, really, really good, and wait for it, there it is. Okay, can you see this? Did you see this coming? I did not see this coming. I think this is great. So, look at this. Look at how that 5 forward trajectory simulator is lined up. And there is a lot of resistance, like panic here going on, because there is a proton bomb that's going to be coming out here, and there is a 5 forward coming out here, and he doesn't have to keep this bomb anymore because he can let this bomb go next turn, and there's probably going to be a lot of resistance in the way of that seismic. So he can hold whichever one of the bombs isn't close enough. Yeah, like, it's super, super interesting situation. And I, like this... There we go. So what we've done here is we've just set a little bit of a marker just to make sure that Poe clears, I think. Yeah, he's fine. Loads of space. Yeah, just wanted to make sure before they put the put that template down that we could get Poe in there. So there we go. Slightly bendy templates. Lovely. Okay. Worth noting that he could have got a little bit of extra distance if that template had gone flat on the table. The slight angle would have made a small difference. So Poe does the K-turn, ready to come back around next turn, and I really like Azaghal's engagement here. I think he's got a good shout of it. I would definitely, like, when that red comes to shoot, I would definitely be firing at the panic. Well, everything was fine. We decided not to spend the focus token, so red gets off lucky, and Matija says, well, oh, sorry, that was Nim. Nim says, well, we're not doing any damage there. Matija continues to Matija and gets 3 hits out of hand, and Azaghal is relatively sad, and that is 2 shields off of Bobber, which is a really big deal, like really big deal. Yeah, with 2 shots there, maybe 1 shield on red because he does have a focus. But yeah, one shield on red. Sorry, it was Nim. Nim took 2 shields, and yeah, it's absolutely the correct decision for Matija to shoot Nim there. I think that's worth it for the ball position of that 5 forward trajectory simulator. Whilst it sucks, it's really hard to say. It's really hard to say here because with Nim doing that barrel roll, he could have lobbed a 5 forward traj sim and just held it and then turned away. But what he's done here is he has put Nim in danger. He's taking the risk. I really like it because he's going to win the game with his bombs, but there's the risk reward. It's like, okay, T-70s have the health to tank some of these bombs. What if they just decide, screw it, we don't care, fly through all the firepower, take 3 shields each, and then just annihilate Nim? It's a worthwhile trade. And then let's see what happens. And yeah, as Azaghal points out, if Matija had to spend that focus at any point during the attack, he would have had to roll for Dengar as well. So that is a thing. So let's think about options for next turn. Nim is in danger. He can turn over this way, probably a bad idea. He can turn over that way and then barrel roll, which is most likely the situation. Bobber is either talon rolling or coming around very, very quickly. And the T-70s and the Y-Wings, they're a bit split up. Like he's in a good position in terms of chasing him down, but you need to dodge the bombs. You can't just zoom forwards. And yeah, you need to be very, very careful here. So my feeling is in this position, Poe is probably coming around the far side of this asteroid to just try and dodge things. Here's the Trad Sim. And also, shout out to Azaghal. He has little sticky bits on the bottom of his bombs so that they don't get nudged everywhere, which is a really good idea. I need to reapply the blue tack on my asteroids. So there's one proton bomb. Nim can't reload his bombs, so he has to be careful with these. But that seems like a really good place to have a bomb. Seems like a really good place to have a bomb. Now, where are we going with the proton bomb from Bomber? There we go. That one comes in there. And then we get some panic going on. So Jess says, well, do I want to deal with this? It seems like yes. Sorry, that's the red. Yeah, the red just says, yeah, this is fine. I will take maybe 3 damage here. I think if he'd have done the one forwards, he probably would have done the seismic as well. Put that Y-Wing on forwards, please. Otherwise, my brain is going to hurt. The Y-Wing is going forwards, I promise. Gets a focus this time. There we go. The Y-Wing is now pointing in the correct direction. Okay. Yeah, we start the conga line. So should be fine. Maybe, possibly. Yes, everything's sorted. Everything's good. Hello. All right. So we've got a bit of a conga line going on. Only red is in massive danger of the bombs. But the bombs have done their job. They've stopped all of these resistance ships from getting a really good smack onto Nim. And they're now having to go through bombs. So was it the correct decision to just disappear off into the distance? Probably. However, that's the 50-50. Matija had to guess. He had to decide whether or not Bob was going to come in for the flank or whether or not they were going to do this. So whilst it's now in hindsight, yes, he should have just disappeared off this way. He didn't know that. And he was in a really, really tough board position. If you flip that 50-50 the wrong way, like this is still an okay situation. He's not taking too much damage. He's chasing them into the corner. If he'd have flipped the coin wrong over here, it would have been a really bad situation for him. So I think I respect the decision there. What Azaghal is thinking about here is the boost. He's just like, okay, do we have a situation here where we drop another proton bomb? Because he can just keep on dropping proton bombs and reloading them. Does decide that board position is better, and he does the boost. And then Poe uses his double action. Worth keeping track on that, because he can only do it every other turn. And comes in to a good position here, ready to be able to avoid bombs next turn as well. Looks like next turn for the resistance is going to be a bit more of a regroup as we attempt to dodge the bombs, and let's see how much damage we take here. So only damage on red, it looks like, from the proton bomb over there. Not terrible for Matija. Azaghal was maybe hoping for more, but Matija managed to dodge those effectively. And now the question is, do we allow this bomb to explode, or do we pop a seismic? Because the seismic is going to do 3 damage, but then it allows the entire list to turn this way, and you no longer have much seismic protection in the center. This is the constant battle of the control of this bombing list. Is this a good time? And Azaghal has decided he's not going to. He doesn't want the extra 3 damage on these ships. He just removes the essentially free proton bomb. Bob can just reload that later. And he decides, no, you know what? I think it's more useful to have that asteroid in the way of all of these ships turning left. So we're going to do that. I'm not sure. I think I would have taken the three damage there. But with the angle on the table, I'm not sure whether it would have hit Jess and Red. We can't be sure. So we get some more damage. Nim takes a single point of damage, and the bombs do something to T70s. So looks like Matija is ahead here. He's managed to dodge the bombs. He's taken the gambit and he's dodged it. And Nim is getting hurt. He's taken 3 shields. He's only 3 more damage away from half points. And for a 1 agility ship against all of this beef, he's in danger. However, it's definitely difficult for the resistance to get around the corner, and Bobber is still a threat. So, sorry, there we go. Likely that Nim and Bobber are going to be turning away again this turn. So Matija has decided, you know what, we are fully going to chase. There was no bomb threat for now. They're pointing in the wrong direction. And see, this is interesting here. Matija has decided that he's not going to force the chase. He could have taken probably 3 shields this turn if he'd have just tanked that asteroid and really, really threatened Nim, because Nim's got nowhere to go. So if he'd have just come around the corner and not barrel rolled, even boosted, then he could have put some serious damage to Nim here. However, Bobber is coming around the corner, so maybe he was worried about Bobber coming in and just punching the T-70 in the nose. That is a definite threat. He probably felt like, oh, my squad is getting split up. I need that threat to prevent Bobber from running in. So Azaghal here ends up coming over here. And what you will notice is that Azaghal and Matija have just completely swapped sides. They're now just on opposite sides to each other. And Nim continues to go, okay, that's fine. I'm going away now. And presenting his butt and that threat of bombs. As does Bobber. Bobber says, nope, we're fine here. How are you? And I really like this as an opportunity to reload. I don't know if he will do it. Yep, there we go. There's the reload. Because next turn, Bobber can do a lot of things. Remember I was saying about people having a lot of options, and that gives your opponents problems. If you... Oh, there goes Bonk. Poe just says, nah, this is fine. If you think about Bobber's options next turn, he can disappear, he can 4K, he can hard 1, he can hard 2. There's a lot of different possibilities for him coming around the corner. And because of that, the resistance have to be careful. With this bomb in the way, they can't just all bank in and say, oh, this is fine. So you have to be able to dissuade Bobber from the hard 1, but not just dive in and take free damage, because if you dive in here, then Nim can absolutely just drop a second proton here. He can then explode this rock and just do a buttload of damage that the resistance can't avoid. So again, whilst you want to come in, you have to be very, very careful about the bombs. And at all times, Matija is thinking, okay, like I can't run into the bombs. And I've got to give some serious credit to Azaghal here. He is on a constant knife's edge of, is Nim too close and is just going to explode, or am I the one that's actually threatening in terms of the bombs? There's 2 completely different ways of playing the game. It's really interesting to see them collide. So we'll skip out on some thinking here. There we go. So we're going slowly. We decided not to chase. We're just going to sit there. The Y-Wing says, well, I've got 9 health. I can absolutely tank that seismic. Please explode it. I promise it will do something. Pro tip, it won't. Probably better to keep it for later. Unless you're getting 3 ships, I don't think it's worth getting rid of that seismic. Because Azaghal can continue to use it. It's still 0-0, so a good shot on a ship from Bobber could win him the game. And that red is only 3 hull away from half points now. If it gets stranded, isolated, Bobber just comes in and punches things. He could absolutely win. So we now get to the point where Nim decides to go aggressive, and this one I don't like. This one hurts because we're in a position. I know he's got to get the win. I think he's accepted the fact that he can't just carry on running away for salvo. And this probably is giving away that Bobber's turning in, because if Nim is there, then it seems likely that Bobber is now going to... There he goes. Yeah, Bobber now says, hi, how's life? And this for next turn is where Bobber's ablative plating comes in. Bobber doesn't care about trajectory simulated bombs. He just says, cool, I'll take that one on the plating. I've got 2 of those, don't care. So next turn, Bobber is absolutely able to come and punch right in the face. Here we go. Poe just says, that's fine, I'll try and target lock you. I believe he gets the target lock off here. Nope, doesn't. Okay, so we get some shoots. Do some shoots, get some shoots. We'll just check the shields in a bit. This is not about that. So, consequence is 0. No one did any damage. Okay. So, skipping through here. So, let's just think about what's going to happen this turn. We've faffed around for about, 40-something minutes at this point. And we're now in a situation where both sides are more or less committed to the joust here. Like, Nim cannot escape. Unless the resistance decide to just go, nah, we don't want this. Nim just can't get out. So we're in a situation where we're definitely going to have a proton bomb that's going to appear over here. We're going to have to deal with this seismic. But if we get that right, then you can nuke either Bobber or Nim here. Nim, on the other hand, has the threat of doing all this extra damage, but really doesn't want to end up in front of the whole resistance list. Bobber kind of does, although he has the option of fall forward and boosting, taking rear cannon shots and dumping the proton bomb here as well. I quite like the option of. I can't quite see the angle on this rock, but it is definitely an option of doing that as well. So let's see what the decision is and what actually happens here. So unsurprising move is unsurprising. There comes the proton bomb. Use the maximum amount of lefty and righty on that template to get it as close as possible. Let's see where the resistance goes. So they don't want to take too much. So now Nim has got rid of his proton bombs. He no longer has a 5 straight trad sim. So if the resistance can minimize the damage from that bomb, they no longer have to worry about any trad sims coming out at long range from protons. And this is huge. Again, with that little Y-wing. I don't know how much this is in terms of the bumping, but it doesn't fit. And if Matija had that a little bit better, maybe he could have done it. So then Jess comes in and Jess says this is a problem because the Y-wing didn't fit. Now I'm not going to fit. So maybe a little bit faster would have been better. Just make sure that red is out of the way and causing problems. And then Bobber says, "Bomb? What bomb? I don't care." And decides to just punch things in the face. So there we go. Bobber says hi. There is no way out of that box. Bobber is stuck and taking a fair few shots at range 1. And the red is going to have quite a few rerolls because of the bullseye droid. Because Jess definitely has a bullseye and maybe the Y-wing does too. And Bobber decides, well, this is a good turn for a reinforce. And essentially at that point, I say, okay, we don't shoot Bobber. Because you're going to do 1 damage per ship, likely. And Bobber has a lot of health, and Nim doesn't have much. You only need 3 damage to get points. So at this point, I would just dump on Nim, I think. With 30 minutes to go, I don't think Bobber has enough time to finish the game, if you like. We've flown around for so much that Bobber... The threat of Bobber is that he will just solo your entire list. I don't think he has the time to do that once this engagement is finished. So yeah, I would say, sorry, bud. We don't shoot Bobber here. You shoot Nim and just try and punch him in the face as much as humanly possible. So yeah, focus target lock from Poe, and again, shoot Nim. He's not going to. I've seen this before, but he's going to target lock Bobber. There it goes. There's a target lock on Bobber, and we're going to get some hot and spicy fast spray action. Everyone forgets. There we go. There was the bomb. So how much damage did we do? Quite a lot. So the seismic happens, and we do a shield, and a shield. So I think the red dodged it, but we definitely get the Y-wing and Jess. And then Bobber just triggers ablative and says, "I don't care." Yeah, it looks like players have still figured out not to try and shoot Bobber at range 1. Shoot him at range 2. always. And yeah, Poe could have shot the jamming beam here, but again, I think it's like you're passing up on damage. If you'd have just shot everything into Nim here, then honestly, Nim could have just died. Like 8 health, 1 agility, could have happened. He's only got 1 focus. So that goes. I'm genuinely surprised that the proton bomb didn't go boom this turn. I can kind of see why, because there's a double proton drop coming next turn as well. But take it where you got it. I think. I feel like it would have hit the Y wing. So yeah, that would have been my call. Bobba says, I'm shooting Jess now. Again, should have shot red. Feel like that would have been a sensible decision. So I'm arguing with target priorities here. Oh no, it did shoot red. I apologise. I should just shut up. Right then. Why is my restream not working? That's weird. Strange. Anyway. So yeah, red is down to 2. Bobba didn't have force because he's no longer allowed it. And yeah, this could now be painful. Bobba says, well, I'm only going to take one anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Pointless reroll was pointless. That is a sucky attack roll. Only 1 hit. And Bobba says, well, I love it. I'm fine. And then we get another range close, and Jess, that one doesn't have any rerolls. I think that was the iron cannon. So yeah, realistically, Bobba gets out. Like that's ridiculous. Bobba just doesn't take any damage at all. Huge dodge there. He took 2 shields from the entirety of that T70 list, and I can't help but feel if you put that shot into Nim, then that's half points. He's just going to go down to 5 health. He hasn't really got an escape route for next turn, and yeah, you just win. You can just win the game right there, because if you get 80 points for maybe a ship, and then just disappear. So target priority. I know that there is a big fat fire spray in your face. I know the point of your list is to shoot at range 1, but I think that was a decision point where Matija could have just won the game right there. And now he's given Azaghal a chance because there are so many bombs now available. Yeah, just going on there. And someone else to block. Boop, 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 boop. Timeout. Right then. So yeah, that's my view there. But now we get interesting. The stress on the fire spray has consequences. I still quite like the idea of a hard 2 from the fire spray. And just say, this is fine. We can clear stress later. Stay shooting. But realistically, probably just a 1 banker or 1 forwards. Clear that stress. Get ready to come around later. Nim is in danger. I think I would probably do a 2 hard to the right with Nim, and then barrel roll, whichever way you need to. That would be my thinking here. In terms of the resistance, you have to be cognizant of those bombs. There's already a proton there. There's going to be a proton over here. That's a problem. And we can disengage over here, but that allows shots. We can come in here. That allows shots. We also have to be very careful because red only has a single point of hull remaining before he goes down on half, and you're giving up points. Because that hit didn't work as well as it did, then Matija is now in a real dangerous position. We're in a situation where, realistically, that turn could have lost us the game, because you traded damage for damage on the wrong ship, because Bobber is so hard to just deal damage to it in a short period of time. And if we're having a look at this this timer here, 25 minutes left, this is what I was saying about Bobber not having enough time to finish the game. With that amount of time remaining, you need to be thinking, okay, I need to get points, I need to hang on to mine. This is no longer I'm going to wipe my opponent off the board. Basically, both lists are more or less fairly healthy. This is now a damage trade. What can I do and how little can I take in return? So you're constantly thinking about this from this point onwards. So yeah, let's see how we go. Turn count timer, just while I'm at it as well. So we had 7 to the turn in, and then 8, 9, 10 So we're at 10 turns now. So they managed to fit 7 turns in the first however many minutes, and then the last 3 took them about half an hour. That is the amount of thinking that those last few turns have taken. So there is the unsurprising proton bomb. Nim has to get out of the way of that, realistically, because there are 2 proton bombs that might hit him in the face this turn, which is why I like the too hard idea. We'll see if that happens. And Red has decided that he does not want anything to do with those proton bombs and is just getting out of dodge. Red likes his health and wants to not be shot in the face or get bombed. The barrel roll comes out. There we go, making sure that we're taking no bombs. Better than the boost there. I always forget T70s have easy access to barrel rolls. This is where the angles on the table are a lot easier. I wouldn't have taken the stress though. Don't like the stress. I think you need to be threatening. It's okay to take half on the T70 if you're threatening half on Nim. That is acceptable. So Matija is now on full-on damage avoidance mode. We don't want to take these proton bombs. They're going to hurt. So Y-Wing says, cool. I've got a side arc. This is fine. And there we go. Yeah, so just coming in 1 forwards, accepting one of the bombs, and barrel rolling to block. There we go. So that will block the 1 bank, and it will block Boba onto both of those bombs if he decides to explode both. Will not block the 3 forwards, but it will block any hard turns. And then it is over to Azaghal. So Azaghal has decided that he is just going to keep his stress and does the 3 bank. I like that move. Similar to the hard 2, it's a doesn't matter, we're just going to do some shots. Puts him in a really good position, so Jess realistically should be taking a fair bit of damage here, but Boba only has rerolls. And this is this a 2 bank, or is it a hard 2? Oh, it's a 3 bank, and it fits. That respect on that one. I thought that the 1 forward in the barrel roll was going to block Nim. Realistically, I expected someone to be there. I was expecting someone to try and block that position. Or to Boba to be in that position. Whereas Nim just says, no, we're just going to rotate, this is fine. So now we got Poe. Poe says, well, we're in trouble, but not too much trouble. So Poe can accept a bomb here for a decent focus target lock shot on to Nim. Unfortunately, he took the target lock last turn. So that was not a use of his ability. The lock was still there. He is Commander Poe, so we can't do double actions every single turn, so he just has the focus. Alright, let's see what happens. So Poe shoots first, but before that, bombs go. So he doesn't want to do damage to Nim. So Azaghal has decided that we could do 2 damage here to Jess and to Poe, but I want to keep Nim above half. I'm not sure on that decision. I think I would have taken the shield, because getting, like, Jess is in real danger this turn. I think Nim is probably going to end up being half this game anyway. So I think I would take the opportunity to get the damage down and then try and kill Jess to win off that. I don't know, like, it seems difficult to get Nim out of this hole that we're in right now. Yeah, he didn't take a shield. Oh, okay, from the gotcha. Understand. So he decided that the proton bomb that's still on the board right now wasn't going to be in range of Poe, and therefore it wasn't worth taking damage. That makes sense. Yeah, so if Poe's the only danger and you can ionize Poe, then fair enough. That does make sense. Yeah, if you're hard twoing and getting the ion, I don't know. I still like the damage on Jess here. If Bob had a focus, then it would definitely have been the bomb. Sorry, so this is the ion turret. Oh, this was ridiculous. Yeah, 3 out of hand for the ion turret. That is a good time. And then Poe just says, oof, as he gets ionized into quite a bit of problems. Yeah, definitely the correct decision to try and Ionize Poe there because he didn't have a focus and Jess has all the rerolls. Whilst it's nice to do damage to Jess, you might just bounce because you don't have any modifications. So there we go. And then that one I don't agree with. Oh, do I agree with it? It's really hard to say. Once you started shooting Poe, is it better to just carry on shooting Poe because he's ionized and he's taking the bomb next turn? Like, if you can do just one more damage to Poe, he's halved, and that's totally worth it. Because now you've got the ion, you can just do a hard 2 with Nim and say, cool, this is fine, we're just going to shoot Poe now. Once you halve Poe, then you're in a good position. Although Boba is not too happy, he's doing okay. He does need to clear his stress. So realistically, yeah, it's tough. And I agree. Like, think about that a bit more. If you get the ion, so you've got to combine firepower, whichever one you go into, right? So you either make sure that you shoot Jess with both, or you make sure you shoot Poe with both. If Poe spent his focus and you're going for Poe, then fair enough, you do that. You do get the reroll from Jess's stress, but eh. Now, Poe is trapped here. There is possibly a protein coming from Boba, but unlikely. Don't know if it might hit him. And I think it's not worth dropping the bomb from Boba because Nim goes over the top of it. So the thing is that now the Resistance have time to regroup and breathe. You haven't quite got half points on anything. You know that Poe is getting there. So with 17 minutes left in the game, I think what you want to do is you want to attempt to do that damage to Poe and then disappear into a corner and hide Nim behind Boba, if you can. Because 17 minutes, probably 4 turns from that. The Resistance are going to take 1 turn to turn around, 1 turn to close, and hopefully at that point Boba could very easily come around and just murder Red as well. So even if you do take half, then that's okay. So, okay. Proton Bomb here means it's likely we're not going to do the hard 2 from Nim to try and keep the pressure on. Maybe Nim is just going to try and escape. So we get some T-70s. This one just comes around. Y-Wing comes around and does the boost because everyone forgets the Y-Wing can do that. Jess says, well, we don't want to get murdered by that bomb, and goes over there. And Boba just... Ooh, hello. There we go. Boba clears off his stress and stays there, so we know that we're getting a Talon roll from Boba next turn. Nim does the 1 bank to try and tag Poe, but is not going to be in range, so I think the barrel roll will come here. Nope, no barrel roll. Okay. Sorry, the camera's messing with me again. So we get the iron into Poe, and this is the Matija screaming at the top of his lungs, because this is a roller coaster. Oh no, sorry, that was Boba. Apologies, we get 3 dice there. So we're just gonna let this one sit. All right, just to go through what happened this turn. This is how, like, this is ridiculous. Boba gets 3 hits. Poe I believe takes a... Oh, sorry, no, doesn't get 3 hits because Boba didn't have the reroll for whatever reason. But yeah, so Poe dodges the Boba shot. Nim doesn't get the 2, and then heroics into the double evade. Just if Poe just needed 1 more to take half there. So close. Yeah, gets shot by both, doesn't take half. So then we go on and we continue, and it's still 0-0. Alright, so now the Resistance they have an opportunity to come back in, but realistically they don't need to. They've got chances for salvo. Nim just has to stay as far away as possible, because as soon as he goes near anything, he's going to get halved. He just can't go near. He takes a single point in damage and he's halved. So this is now Boba's game. Boba has to win this. So realistically, you want to faff around for as long as possible, making sure that Bobber gets the final turn engagement, and yeah, tries to get that. So we drop the seismic because this is now a single point of damage game. If Poe or the Red Squadron goes anywhere near one of those asteroids, then Azaghal can win the game off the seismic. So it's a really good seismic drop. Jess says, well, 4K, why not? We got to get around. I don't know whether I would have tried to put Jess around that asteroid to try and threaten over here, but then again, she can also get halved by Bobber, so she needs to keep with her friends. The Resistance are regrouping, very much aware that not only does Nim have to stay safe, but, I mean, if you don't keep the Resistance, the red, safe, then Bobber just wins the game. So, yeah, and now we can see the Talon roll. Again, I don't agree with the Talon roll. I think that should have been a too hard. Knowing that the Resistance is likely coming over here, I think Bobber should have come around the corner and just threatened. Because he could have boosted away. He could have stalled for time around here. I think maybe Azaghal likes his Talon rolls too much. But again, you're keeping Nim safe. Nim is over here, and he is protected by Bobber, so you don't know whether the T-70s were just going to risk that bomb. So Poe now gets access to double actions, which is important because he kind of has to dodge a seismic here. So Nim decides to barrel roll, which is why there was a bit of a stall there. He can indeed go backwards. And Poe says, I really don't want to take a bomb, please, thank you. So we'll boost and then barrel roll and get out of the way. Really, really clutch that Poe had access to double actions that turn. Otherwise, Azaghal just wins. So, 10 minutes to go. We've had a bit of a regroup. The proton bomb is just going to disappear. So, yeah. Now we've got 10 minutes. It's still 0-0. Not for lack of trying. There's been a fair bit of good positioning. And now we get an interesting scenario here. Because Bobber can run into the jaws of death two ways, but he needs to get to these two ships over here. He doesn't really care about these two as much. Realistically, it's over here. So, yeah, now we get to see what happens over the next couple of turns. And just before anything moves, my thinking is this. Nim has to stay behind Bobber, so it doesn't matter which way Bobber goes, but Nim has to stay behind him. Because otherwise, then the T-70s can just jump on him. And with 8 minutes to go, he should be able to keep safe. The red T-70s, I think it's unlikely that you're going to keep them above half. So I think that Matija at this point needs to accept the fact that he's not going to be able to keep them above half. He needs to do damage now. He needs to make a choice. Is he going to try and catch Bobber on the way in? How much health has Bobber got? Bobber needs to go down to 5 to get halved because he does have the hull upgrade. So he needs to do 4 damage to the fire spray. He only did 2 last time at range 1. So it is a risk to try and get Bobber unless you're forcing him to boost into range 1. So you have to catch Bobber at range 3 or at range 2 with your entire squad, and then you have a chance. Or you need to be shooting him for 2 turns. Alternatively, you go and catch Nim and only take a single point at half. That is a possibility, but with 8 minutes to go, you've got to shift. You've got to go really, really, really fast. So I think realistically, I would be looking to sit back, be careful, and attempt to catch Bobber on the turn that he comes in. I think that's what I would have done with the Resistance. For Azaghal here, it doesn't matter which way you go, but you have to make a choice. And I think you need to make a choice to make sure that both ships go the same direction. So with that in mind, Matija says, no thank you, we're fine here, and just keeps red as far away from danger as possible. And then, okay, there we go. I stops the timer for a couple of minutes here. Yeah, so if you hadn't barreled Nim, so I feel like you could have still kept him safer, because you could have just hard 2'd here. But I'm going to come to that in a second. So Jess goes over there, tries to avoid the seismic charge. I stopped the timer for a little bit because I thought that Jess had done a 3 hard instead of a 4 straight and then boosted instead of a 3. The perspective makes it look really weird if I just show you where she ends up. So where Jess ends up here in relation to that asteroid, compared to a couple of turns back where she finishes off the 4K and then does the boost after she does the boost. Sorry, flicking back. There we go. So she's there, and then she ends up there. It is the same template. I went back and checked, but it looks like, and yeah, the four was still on the board, so it can't be the four straight. But if they'd made an accidental mistake by not keeping track of the stress token there, that was a pretty big deal. So yeah, we made sure we paused the game, asked the question, was Jess stressed? Because if it was a four forwards, then it wouldn't have mattered if she wasn't stressed, and if both players made the mistake, then that's on them. We are not judges or arbiters if the players and the judges at the table didn't catch it, so we let it run from there. Turns out, when we checked back after the fact, it was fine. It was a three forwards, and that wasn't an issue. We didn't want to interrupt the game too much, so we just asked them one question and then carried on. So Jess is out, and Bobber, sorry, there we go. Bobber commits super hard. I like this. I like this a lot from Azaghal because he's taking the opportunity while the resistance are trying to get away from to get some shots in. Like, he's in a good position. He can now jump, as I was saying, he can jump into range one without having to do the boost, which is really, really key. However, there is a bit of a mistake here, which is the hard two that way. I don't like that. I don't like that because I know I'm looking at this with hindsight, but with 7 minutes left, there might be some time, and I think keeping Nim and Bobber next to each other is a better call. That was my view on it anyway. So Bobber goes over there, and yep, and I think that's a good idea from Firecast. I think it's essentially what to pause it there and talk about judges and streams and stuff. I think it's great that we have streams. Streaming is really, really important. Yeah, that does make sense if you didn't manage to work out on the turns with streaming and mistakes. Now, I'm sure at an X-Wing tournament there is a hell of a lot of mistakes, and you should all play carefully and make sure there aren't any mistakes. But there will be mistakes. That is the nature of doing this. There is a lot of triggers, and people will miss stuff. Now, obviously, there are judges around to help if that happens, but playing on stream is something that it's a great thing to do because people can watch it. But I also think that it's important to try and keep the experience on stream as similar to the experience on the table as possible. Because if you are going to, basically, playing on stream should be as if you're not playing on stream. Because it should be in the same situation as everyone else in the room. Because otherwise playing on stream will give you an unfair advantage, disadvantage, whatever you say. And you don't want to have your game stopped every 5 seconds for something the stream might get wrong and you might get right and you're tracking. We don't have perfect information. There is a table mic, but you can't hear everything. So basically the stream should be as unobtrusive as possible. I think that the Firecast did a really, really good job of that. If you're playing a single, like an exhibition match, then absolutely. Like, you are the only match happening. If it's the final, then you are the only match happening, and therefore I think it's a bit more acceptable to pause the timer. You have more time. You're not on everyone else's clock. And then I think that should be the situation, that if it is the only match going on, or if all of the matches are being streamed, then you're all in that situation. And as long as there is a judge watching the stream, and I think that is very important, that it is not like Twitch chat, you guys get ignored. It is not important what you guys say, because you can get it wrong. If there is a judge watching the stream and there is a judge watching the table, then I think that's then an acceptable situation for people to get involved. Andy, you lose points. That was terrible. Anyway, moving on. We have a thing. Poe does a thing. And we get some shots. Relatively inconsequential shots. Yes. Jess dodged. Bobber says, well, there's 3 hits. The Y-Wing says, there's 1 or 2 evades. Y-Wing takes 1 shield. Meh. But if that had been 2 shields, then maybe Bobber can just nuke the Y-Wing. But because it's on 4, you can't really risk that. So this is... Okay, sorry. This 3 minutes on the clock. Realistically, probably... It depends how fast it goes, but probably a single turn happening here. If you can get this to the point where Nim can just try and not play the game, then fine. If you can get it to the point where Jess can get to Nim, then you can win the game from there. And it doesn't really stop you from winning the game against Bobber, because all Matija needs to do is not take damage now. So if he can get his ships out of the way, or if he can get the shot there, then he can win the game. And I just want to have a look at this, because this is where gamesmanship comes in, and I'm going to piss off a few people here. So let's do it. Screw it. Why not? If you're keeping an eye on the clock, and you know that you have 3.5 minutes to go, it is not unreasonable to get a turn to last 3.5 minutes. For Matija here, I don't think he wants to. I don't think he wants to make the game last 3.5 minutes, because it would be a lot better for him to get that shot onto Nim and win the game that way. Probably. He could risk the final salvo. I mean, he's got a really good chance of winning the salvo. He's got 11 dice against 6, so he should win the salvo. So if he can assume that he's not going to get killed here, then he could win the game. But for him, he doesn't know whether or not Bobber's going to get the jump when he has the information he needs, because information-wise, he moves his initiative 3s first. The initiative 3 red is probably what Bobber is going for to kill. So because of that, I don't think Matija can afford to try and slow down the game here. And I say slow down the game not in a I'm playing slowly, like obviously I am. There is a level of slow play that you can get away with in a game, right? Players speed up and slow down turns to go with the clock. You are not going to be able to counter that with a slow play rule, because there is a certain amount that you can speed up and slow down. I'm not saying take 2 minutes more on your dials, because that's a thing, but you can risk making mistakes in your turn by not considering things to speed up. Now that's something that I am very aware of. Using the clock is something that I think is an important skill, and I respect Azaghal a lot for saying I'm not going to do it, because I mean Matija and Azaghal chat a lot. They're going to play sensibly. Yeah, and three minutes or so. If both of you are aware of it, I don't think either player has much to gain from trying to flag here. Yeah, obviously if you go for it, you're not going to get 8 minutes, and it's clear here that Matija wants another turn. You can see from the stuff he's doing. But I think risking making mistakes to speed up a turn is an interesting scenario, because in a bit like chess, right? If you think of a game that lasts 15 minutes versus versus a blitz game that lasts 3 minutes, you're going to make more mistakes in a 3-minute game because you have to move faster. You are going to make more mistakes in a game of X-Wing if you're trying to speed up your turn, because you don't have the time to consider it, because you need to get that second turn in. So it is absolutely a skill to be able to make decisions under pressure correctly, but it's also a skill to be able to slow it down and take your time if you need to, and also not to let your opponent rush you if you need that time to make decisions. Now obviously slow play is a thing, but yeah, take time. Yeah, so there could be an argument that Azaghal, at the point that he realized, okay, I can win this game this turn, he is now thinking, okay, what could I do to try and make this last another go? And I think, unfortunately, at this point, Matija is the one that could have made this turn last longer, because he has 4 ships. Azaghal did not have enough... with two and a bit minutes to go, he did not have enough time to stretch this. So, Bobber comes in. He's got some interesting... because Poe has not yet moved, Bobber doesn't want to get halved, and he could get halved with an unlucky crit or something like that, and plus the Y-Wing shooting. So... with the Y-Wing shooting him and with Poe shooting him, there is a position that he could lose the game this turn. But realistically, he's at range 1. He gets rerolls. I think his best decision here is to just take the focus and try and hurt red. Because if he does a single damage to red this turn, he can win the game. At which point, Poe Yeah, this is another point that no, not Glasgow Rangers. Um, Ice hockey. I like X-Wing with a chess clock could be interesting. I think that's a good way of fixing slow play. You start the clock on about 40 minutes or like 30 minutes per player or something. No, 40 minutes per player. And whenever you're on time, you hit the clock. Like, because 40 minutes isn't unreasonable. If both of you get 40 minutes, it's a lot longer than an hour and 15. Yeah. They did trial it at Worlds. I don't think they implemented it well enough. I think it needs to be done properly, but I think it could work. And it would also stop the thing with slow play because then everyone has the same amount of time and you can't get blamed for slow play. People will still get blamed for slow play. Okay. This is I'm gonna pause for a second because right. I'm gonna finish the game and then we're gonna talk about chess clocks because I think this is really cool. And I have an idea of how you would it already got implemented at Worlds on the planning phase. It's a really interesting idea, and I'm gonna get onto that anyway. So to finish this turn, there was important dice that were being rolled. Okay, let's go back to the important dice. Poe doesn't do anything. He still had the lock from ages ago. So there we go. So Bobber gets his 3 hits. Thank you very much. He has a reroll. Doesn't need a reroll. Just says, yep, we'll get 3 hits. And yeah, 3 of 8. Huge. Doesn't take half. That is a really, really big deal. And if Matija had decided, if Azaghal had decided to slow down the clock, then he would have just lost. So there we go. Because he's not winning that final salvo. He did take half 2 evades and focus. I thought he'd. So this is the thing. I made a mistake in the game as well. It looked like 3. Okay, so he takes half there, and there is still enough time that. Yep, enough time for another round. So then Azaghal is in trouble because he needs to. Matty's just like, yes, there's another turn. Throw my dials on the table. All right, so now in this position, we have a couple of dangerous situations. Bobber has to half Poe. If he doesn't half Poe, and Nim gets halved, he doesn't win the game. If Nim gets halved and Azaghal doesn't halve anything else, then Matija wins the game. Matija obviously can win the game on salvo. So right now he needs. It's unlikely that it's going to come down to salvo, but realistically he needs to halve Nim here. So our clock was actually accurate, I believe, with the 2 minutes remaining. I think. Can't remember if he paused it earlier. Yeah, that's what we're going to go on to on the Wallinger one, because I'll come onto it in a bit. Fair enough, Nick. Fair enough. Right, so in this situation, what have we got here? Well, Jess and Nim are going to go at each other. We know that much. You have Jess needs to take 3 damage, and we've got Dengar and we've got Nim. If you have Bobber, well, Bobber, you've got 2 choices with Bobber. You can try and kill Red, or you can try and kill Poe. So I think you dial in a move that allows you to try and do both, if possible. Realistically, what you're looking for is probably a hard 2 to the right or a 2 bank with Bobber. Maybe a 1 bank, because you don't want Red to come in and block you, because then you just lose. Poe has access to 2 actions, so he can boost and barrel out the way. That's the thing. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah. So realistically, I think as Nickel City said in the chat, 3 bank. Yeah, I think it's a 3 bank. Now the question is, Jess can't go fast because if it's a 3 bank, then she would crash. So Jess has to go slow. to catch Nim and just risk the range 1 trade and not take half. Realistically, I think Jess goes 1 forwards here. Don't know. I can't see if the hard 2 or the 1 bank and barrel roll fits. I don't think she can risk the 1 forwards. I think it has to be a 2 forwards from Jess. The red, I think I would 3 hard into here and then boost towards the asteroid just to try and get out of the way. Yeah. Oh god, is Burnout Slam coming back? Oh, it'd be great. Give me Burnout Slam back. It'd be amazing. I'm just like, right, get me out of here. I don't want to play the game. Oh, god, no. They kind of already got it, didn't they, with the separatist things? All right, so let's skip through. We've kind of had to think about the important things that are going on. I don't think Bob's getting half this turn, so let's skip through. These guys, they had time to play. So, all right. Y-Wing says 1 bank. Don't care. Jess is the 2 forwards. Now the 2 forwards allows her to get most of the options here. There is no combination of boosting or barrel rolling. I don't think they can get Nim out of arc with the 2. So he can either just get to range 3 with no focus, or he can just trade at range 1. And then the red. The red goes zoom and just decides, you know what, guys, we're out. And he's still got access to the barrel and the focus, so he takes that. He just does... Basically, the red just needs to be not at range 1, because then Bobber can't kill him in 1 shot. Now, because Bobber has done the 3 bank, this was what I was saying about the 2 separate positions. Bobber can guarantee almost a shot on Poe if he does the curve boost here. And if he doesn't, then he still gets the range 2 into red, and he still has a chance to kill him. Admittedly, red has heroic. Oh no, red doesn't have heroic. Haha. So the 3 blanks is real. And there goes Nim. There's the 3 bank there. And then we get the 3 hard from Poe. And then Poe does his thing and says, no, we're going to barrel roll and then we're going to boost. And we're not going to get shot. So Poe is now out of the game. Doesn't take the seismic. It was worth trying it because it's never going to make anything. And now we get on to the important last couple of rolls of the game. Poe doesn't have a shot, so Bobber gets a shot into red and doesn't kill him. And then Nim. This was really important because Jess still has the focus to spend. At which point... Oh, sorry, I skipped way too far forwards. Oh, there we go. All right. So Jess, like, oh, you can't see. It's really hard to see the dice here. Jess shoots Nim and gets a hit and an eyeball. She decides to spend the eyeball and then doesn't take any Dengar damage back. The correct play was very slightly to not spend the eyeball and risk Nim not getting a focus because it's slightly higher odds than not taking the damage from Dengar. But yes, so yeah, it does come down to dice, but it's likely the flip of the coin was Jess, right? It was unlikely that Jess was going to end up getting halved, but it almost happened. It was very, very close. Was still a really good game though, and I think realistically Matija could have won that earlier, but chose the wrong damage priority, and I think Azaghal played a really good game in terms of like it just all the way through. He understood his win conditions, he understood his positioning, and it was just a shame that last bit at the end there just got him slightly caught out. Yeah, a little bit of a swing either way, that could have happened. Matija did get lucky to win this one after he chose to shoot Bobber with the reinforce, almost costing the game. And yeah, honestly, I really enjoyed that game. It was a really good one to see. But yeah, just chess clocks. There was a really cool thing about chess clocks that they did in... Oh, 3 things at once. Did he get lucky? Yes. But did he get unlucky? Yes. Like, there were points in the game where he had good luck and bad luck. Like, his red dice in that engagement with Bobber were terrible. Like, it wasn't a really, really bad decision to shoot Bobber there. because you could have done like 3 or 4 damage to him. The fact that he didn't um, was bad dice luck on his part, because he didn't bump, but he still had a lot of mods. Um, no worry. Yeah, I agree with Netta here. This is one of the best games I've ever seen on stream, because I really enjoyed that first half hour of the trade of board position, and how there was so much. There wasn't any action going on, but there was, like, 2 turns down the line. If either of those players had made a mistake, they would have lost that game 2 turns down the line, and it was really, really good to see. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot. But yeah, so a little bit about chess clocks. It was trialed at Worlds, and I think the way that that I like dealing with the planning phase is both players have a shared chess clock. Obviously, each player has, say, 40 minutes. I think the time can be worked out a little bit, but if each player has 40 minutes worth of time, the time is off when both players are planning. So when both players are in their planning phase, no time. Time doesn't run down. When it's one player's turn, they are on their clock. So as soon as one player finishes planning, they tip the clock so that it starts ticking for their opponent, right? So the whole idea is that if you are setting dials faster than your opponent, then you are making your decisions faster, which means that there is a slight risk of you making mistakes, but obviously it then puts the emphasis on their opponent to not spend all their time thinking. Now there is a argument with that on the 2 dials versus 8 dials. If you're playing a swarm versus if you're playing a 2-ship. And I think this is where this comes out in the wash, because when I am playing against a swarm, what generally tends to happen is that the swarm player will spend slightly more time thinking about their dials, but then the ace player will spend a lot more time thinking during their turn. And I think it's important to note that this chess clock isn't just for dials. This chess clock is also for during the turn. So whenever you're doing something, you have the clock on you. Whenever you're finished, you hit the clock and it's over to your opponent. And as an ace player, if I'm playing a 3-ace list against, say, buzz droids, for example, then the droid player knows as soon as they set their dials, they know what they're going to do, because they're going to move and then they're going to action. Then the ace player has to react to that. The ace player has to react to what the droid player has done during his turn, and that's when his thinking time happens. Because he's going second, they don't get a opportunity to plan ahead as much. If the droid player, for example, does something crazy, then what you have to do is, you have to make decisions, right? So different players take, similar, right? Now, the whole purpose of a chess clock is not to flag your opponent. That's not what this chess clock is trying to do. The whole point of the chess clock is to try and remove an aspect of slow play. If you have that one opponent that is taking forever on their turns, then the timer should be set at just the right level that on a normal game it doesn't really affect it that much. But if a game is running so that your opponent is constantly just like and taking ages to make his decisions, then he gets pressured and he has to make those decisions faster, because you're making your decisions fast, so they have to make theirs. So the whole purpose of a chess clock is not to flag your opponent, and I think you need to be careful with the timing that you set, because it shouldn't be a case of, I'm trying to win on time, like you can do in chess. I think the purpose of a chess clock should be as a last resort to prevent the extremes of slow play, because slow play will always happen, right? Slow play is going to happen, but if the chess clock is set at the right amount of time, it's not going to be happening to the level that people are able to abuse it to a really ridiculous state. So I think coming in with a chess clock just as a countermeasure for some of the worst types of slow play. Yes, so if the clock runs out, your opponent loses. That's how that works. And it's in 3-minute games or in 5-minute games in what's called speed chess. That is a genuine way to win. If you're in a bad position, but you can keep on making simple moves and your opponent can't checkmate you, then because they are so lower on time, eventually they will lose time in each move, and then they will lose the game on time. because they didn't have the time to checkmate you. Maybe they took longer earlier in the game thinking, and therefore they now have less time to try and checkmate you. I don't think it should get to that position in X-Wing. I think it should always be a last resort measure. But it's a case of, okay, you can see that you only have 15 minutes left on your clock and there's half an hour left of the game. If we're not taking an even amount of time, then this could be a problem. So don't slow play. I think it'd be a cool thing to explore. And I think it could have been a really good way of solving some of the problems with slow play. I think it could have been a really good way of solving some of the problems with slow play that we have been or could see. But yeah, that's that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's really nice to go and get a game review going. It's I've seen this before, so I am hoping to put a couple of my games. I'm actually considering, and this is there a big issue with slow play? No, but apparently there was a big enough issue with fortressing for AMG to remake the entire game. Oops. I went there. Is anyone surprised? Not really. Anyway, but more importantly, I think it'd be really cool. Like it's kind of problems before they appear. Like there is problems with slow play every now and then. You see it at tournaments. People complain about it. So why not bring in a relatively easy measure and see if it works? Like I'm not saying it's something that is a good idea, but I think it was something that I'd like to try. I think it'd be cool. What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, question to you guys. Something that I'm considering, because I have said for many years now, is I don't want to open up subs on my channel. I've got enough subs on YouTube and on Twitch that I could make this a subscriber channel, but I don't turn them on because I think it's unfair because I don't stream enough, right? I don't do that. But a question to you guys. I've had an idea for some content which I think would be really cool because I love doing these things. I love talking through my thoughts and my feelings while I'm playing the game of X-Wing. And I was considering opening up basically, I fly your list, right? So you submit a list to the channel and say, I think it'd be really cool to see you fly this list and talk through how you're playing it. Talk through your decisions while you're playing. Like if you go back to my really old Vassal videos, right? Do some more of those and say, right, this is exactly what I'm thinking. I'm not chatting to my opponent on mic. I'm talking to you guys about all of my thoughts. But doing it for a list that you guys suggest. And I'm wondering whether or not that would be a thing that you guys would be interested in seeing, which is basically if you're a sub to the channel, like an Amazon Prime sub, whatever, you can lob a list in, you can bombard me with list ideas, and then once or twice a week, I will take some of those lists and play them for an evening and talk through my thoughts and feelings. If that's something that you're interested in, then let me know in the comments or let me know on here. And yeah, I will basically see if I can work out the nonsense list. But yeah, like pretty much, and see how it works. If you think that's a cool idea, then it's something I'm considering because that would be. I've been thinking for a while of like, okay, if I'm going to turn on subs, how could I make that worthwhile? Like what would you guys get out of that if I did that? Because I enjoy doing this channel. The channel is fun. It's there for me, right? Like I'm doing this as a channel. But if I'm going to turn on the subs, then that could be a good reason for me to do it. So yeah, I might try that idea for a bit. We'll see. I think we'll give it a couple of trial runs before I turn this on and see how much engagement it gets. And yeah, should be good fun. Maybe I'll play Defender Vader and make Sammy sad. Anyway, thank you, people. Have yourself a. But yeah, that's a good point. I need to get someone to play me, so I'd have to pre-arrange a game and say, right, I'm gonna fly a random sub list. You can fly whatever you want. But oh god, and Chris is going to. Yeah, we're not doing OnlyFans. I mean, no, it's not happening. Anyway, yeah, I know. I would like as a genuine thing. I need to come over to Firecast Focus and do some stuff. But hey, thank you people for getting involved. Thank you for coming and listening. This one will absolutely be on YouTube. Probably it is already on YouTube. I know some of you are watching on YouTube. But yeah, have a good evening. See you soon. And I'm going to go and, in about an hour and a half, play some real life X-Wing on a table. Oh my god. Anyway, see you guys. Back to Dallas.